Welcome to the Ages of Rock podcast with your hosts Bill Algie, Dennis Talbot, and Alan Tate. We are three guys who have one thing in common, a love of rock and roll. Our goal is to talk about all things rock. We hope you find this show intriguing, funny, and occasionally highly opinionated. Enjoy!
Hey, welcome to the Ages of Rock podcast. I'm your host, Dennis Talbot, along with Alan Tate and Bill Algie.
I thought you were going to say Dennis Miller.
I thought so too. I was like, what?
No. Anyway, we're back again for another week of funsies. We have Jason Herndon on here in a little bit. He's a friend of ours, and we're going to talk some vinyl with him. But before then, it's just us three, and we're going to do a little chatting here. Alan, what you got for this week? Anything fun, exciting?
I got, I must apologize because last week I forgot to give the shout outs for the show shares. So this week I have quite a few.
We should go.
Shout outs by Alan Tate.
Okay. Well, I won't do that since you did it for me. But I did
I'll
like
do
that.
For you.
Oh my goodness.
Continue on.
All right. I think I'm going to pronounce this name right. One of the shares on Twitter was from Jay Skazblewski. I bet that's correct. Jay, please let me know if I'm pronouncing it correctly or not. Okay.
Yeah, and if not, would you please send us an email phonetically?
Yes.
So
Send me a voicemail at 812-867-5309. Okay. Also, we got Bo from Hairnet Radio, David Cathy, E.T. Brown, Marshall Latimer, Zach Green, Craig Osborne, Brian Harris, Kaylin Provo, Maxanne Krotz Harvey, Rebecca Goolsby, Bobby Golomboski, Bill Elam, and Steve Wright. Thanks a bunch for sharing, folks. We appreciate you helping us out.
Golomboski, I can now say that name right.
That's right. And Jay Skazblewski. I'll bet you that's correct.
Yeah. You may
See,
have
because
that right.
since I know how to pronounce Chris Sinzak's name, I use that to kind of figure out how to pronounce this. So if it's wrong, then we're going to blame Chris Sinzak.
I think that's appropriate. I think that's totally appropriate.
All right.
And Aaron Camaro. We should blame Aaron Camaro too, because why not?
Because we can.
And that was Alan Tate's shout-outs.
You know, you should have done it like the old Saturday Night Live thing.
What's that? For the hard of hearing. He's like, that was
it Gilda Radner?
No, it was the
yes.
It was his name.
It was Gilda Radner.
No, it was the
it was a guy. You're right. Okay. Anyway, we're off. We have no idea who it was.
His last name was Morris, I believe.
Yeah, Garrison Morris.
Garrison Morris, that's it.
He did that because he was like going.
And as you folks can tell, once again this week, we are easily entertained.
Oh, we are entertained.
It was funny.
Bill, what you got for this week? Anything fun, exciting?
No, I just found trolling around here looking for people. I found that there's somebody just posted a bunch of metal records on garage sale thing. So I got hurry this up because I gotta buy some records.
He's like on
the gas pedal.
Take them all.
Oh, some good stuff, man. There's like Van Halen, Wasp, Kiss, Judas Priest, Twisted Sister, Quiet Riot, The Doors, Aerosmith. Cool. Some good stuff on there.
All right,
$40 it says.
Earl Smith. I never heard of him.
Earl Smith.
Pause just mute your microphone and go ahead and call that woman or man.
I was text hey, I want your business. Yeah. Let's see. I don't think I have anything. I don't have anything.
I ordered that my new turntable, that U-turn turntable, actually on the 11th of January, and I still haven't received it yet. It said it would take 5 to 7 days, but.
Well, it's a U-turn table, so it got here and it went back.
It was a Facebook buy, but it's an American company, and they actually have a website, and it's all handmade here in the States. So I'm going to give them a break, but I'm still waiting. It was a $300 and something buy. I did buy new tickets for this week.
Wait. Before you go to the tickets, so Was it a PayPal account or was it a give me your credit card account?
No, PayPal. I bought through PayPal, so I am guaranteed to get my money back if I don't, something happens. So I'm not that stupid, and I didn't send it in an envelope, to a bank account in Bolivia. So
Hello,
anyway.
I am a prince. I have $35 million for you.
I bought my 4th set of tickets for this next year, or for this year, for concerts. I bought tickets for The Who. They're another band that I have not seen, that I want to see, and it's time to probably go do it. And I'm going to go to Indianapolis. We're getting lawn tickets. I thought about it, and I texted my wife. I said, look, who's on Saturday
who's on first?
Yeah. Who is going to be in Indianapolis on a Saturday night? Would you like to do lawn tickets and go see them? And she says, yes. So that's what we did. We went and seen them. Or we're going to go see them. So anyway.
Well, while we're on the topic of British bands, a friend of mine has invited me to go to Nashville on August 19th and see Iron Maiden.
Oh, they're going to be in Indy too.
So even though I'm not an Iron Maiden fan, I would still like to see them live.
Oh, that's good.
I have never seen them live.
Oh, you need to go.
There's a very good possibility I'll be going to Nashville on August 19th to see Iron Maiden.
Say August 9th. Is that a Saturday night?
That's a Monday night.
Monday night. Okay. Yeah, Bill and I were actually at the same concert. We didn't know we were each at that concert. But
I thought I was there. I just didn't know you were there.
Well, I know we didn't see each other there, but it was Why on Earth and Accept and Iron Maiden during their it was a Power Slave.
Power Slave. Come on, even I knew that.
Oh my gosh, and it was outdoors. It was freaking awesome.
If you ever ask my wife,
ask Lisa, she does say it.
If you ever ask her what show I've taken her to that she regrets going to the most, she will tell you.
Oh. Dude, Ryan of the Ancient Mariner outside. They got it.
It's awesome, man.
The only thing that was bad there is they had the smoke. They had the fog going, but the wind was kind of blowing at night, so the fog kind of blew off. But still, outside.
I just remember they had this big thing above the stage. It was like this brain thing that was It was cool as hell. It was neat.
I loved it.
I was thinking about going to Indy because they're going to be in Indy too at.
Yeah,
Rudolph,
they got an actual airplane that comes down. I would love to see that. But anyway, getting back to it, I did get Who tickets. That's one of those things where another band that I have not seen that I want to see, and we're going to go, and it's going to be either good or bad. And I'll let you know when it happens. But it is in May, I believe.
I thought it would sell better than that. Like it's like May 18th or something. I was surprised because the tickets are already on Groupon. You can buy tickets on Groupon already.
Yeah,
you can buy like lawn seats for like $20 on Groupon.
You can. I just bought 2 of them for $50. Fuck you, Bill.
I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna say there were 2. They were $50-something. Ends up with fees. There was $144 for 2 lawn tickets. Cheapest back seat that I could get, chair back seat, was $180, and I'm like, I'm not paying that much for the Who. So we're gonna do the lawn and do what we can. They do now sell lawn seats with a lawn chair rental. So I guess they're renting lawn chairs now up there.
I don't know.
Because I know
depends on the show you're going to.
That state park place. Well, that state park place we went to, was it Whitewater State Park?
White River.
White River. Mm-hmm. They actually give you seats, and when you walk out,
they pass them out.
Which I love that. That's a great little place to see a concert like that. But anyway, that's basically all I have. Oh, and one more thing. Today is the it is the 23rd of January, and Keith Richards is still alive. There you go. That's all I got.
That's it. That's big. That's like a big buildup for something everybody knew. It's never gonna
I think it's interesting, and I'll keep doing it till he's not still there. It's my stick. Get off my stick, dude.
If that's all you got, let's talk to Jason.
All right.
Thank God.
All right. So now we're starting the show here with Jason Herndon. We appreciate you coming on tonight, brother.
Thanks for having me.
You're not a stranger to podcasts.
No.
You've been around for a while. Tell us the podcast that you have been associated with.
Well, it started out 3 years ago in late 2015 as Kiss My Wax. I was doing it with Tom Shannon and Andrew Scambatti. And once we ran out of records and Tom decided he wanted to move on, because there's only so many records in the Kiss catalog. Because it's a total Kiss podcast. We decided to move into just collectibles in general. So I rebranded everything into Kiss My Collectibles, and that's what we've been doing for the past year and a half, close to 2 years or something like that. So it's mainly just Andrew and myself now, and we have Nicholas Buckland from everythingkiss.com that steps in from time to time when he's not busy writing his book. But that's, Kiss My Collectibles. That's where you can find me. YouTube, website, iTunes,
awesome.
All that stuff. So
awesome.
So you couldn't keep the record thing going because, I mean, there's a greatest hits repackaged about every year and a half, 2 years. I mean, you could have kept it going, man. Come on.
Well, I mean, there's only so much you can say about, Tom. Tom put together those books, the Kiss My Wax books, the 3-volume Bible, as it's referred to, and there's only so much information you can talk about. When you get down to minute things like, well, this label's text is 0.3 centimeters smaller than this label, people start to tune out. So when you get through the whole catalog and you hit the high points and stuff like that.
But you got one guy going in like Minnesota going, really?
Yeah, right. But in collectibles, when new vinyl comes out, we still hit vinyl. We still talk about vinyl. We have a close relationship with E1 Entertainment and Ken Gullick over there and all the Ace Frehley records. And we did a lot of stuff with Ace last year with some private signings and some
I witnessed some of that.
Selling some records through the Rockologist brand, which is Tom Shannon's thing. So we still talk about vinyl on Kiss My Collectibles for sure, but we also talk about silly stuff like Kiss Mego dolls. So.
Yeah. Well, I need to correct Dennis here real quick. He said someone in Minnesota. He lives in California now, dude. Get with the times.
Oh, sorry. All right.
Who's that?
I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, the thing was, we were wanting to get you on here, especially is 2/3 of this group are vinyl people.
Mm-hmm.
1/3 isn't.
Yeah, he sucks.
Well,
we got Ace to sign a piece of vinyl, and Ace made a joke, so he don't give a fuck.
But anyway, Phil and I are big time vinyl people, and I know you work for, was it URP Distribution?
URP Music Distributors. See, you got it wrong.
There you go.
I
got it wrong. Well,
we rehearsed that 14 times, and we all said, "Don't worry, he's going to screw it up, and you'll have to correct him." And there you go.
But anyway, It was really funny today. It was really funny because there was one of those, on Facebook, everybody's doing those 10 years. Look what's happened to me, whatever. And
I saw what you're about to say.
So it's a picture of a little card or a little thumb drive.
Yeah.
And now 10 years later, it's a record.
That's right.
It's like that's so funny. I mean, that's because that's what's happened. I mean, there's been this resurgence of vinyl. And the thing is, I never not stopped liking vinyl. I stopped buying vinyl because it wasn't available, and we all went to we all got into the CDs and all that crap. I got a whole buttload of CDs downstairs that I haven't touched in God knows how long because I stream everything now.
I've got about 3,000 or 4,000 back there behind me. It's crazy.
But like I said, I've got a little turntable down here, but I got one actually ordered 3 days ago. I got it coming. It's one of those U-turn.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those ones I see on Facebook. They're American made, whatever. And I did the custom, so it's coming. It should be here probably this week sometime, or next week probably. So I'm looking forward to that. But I bought a console because Chris Zinzak posted here a while back. He found an old console stereo, and I'm like, so this is a funny story, real quick. So I put out last year that I wanted a console stereo. Look at Bill; he's already. This is a good story though. I put on Facebook, I said, I want a console stereo. Does anybody have one? Basically hit me up. So on the sale thing, and this guy calls me up. He says, I got a Sylvania. It's a late 60s model Sylvania, slider top, tube, all this stuff. Everything works. And I go, how much you want for it? He goes, $100. I said, no, that sounds fair. If it works like it is, that sounds great. And I go, this was back last winter, and it just snowed. And he lived like an hour away north. And I said, well, it'd be about a week before I could pick it up. And he called me back. He said, look, he goes, I just moved in. My wife and I moved in. Like I said, we're divorced, and they moved in together. And he goes, this thing has to get out of the house today. He says, we're coming to Evansville. I'll bring it with me. I'll deliver it to your house for no charge. And I'm like, cool. And he goes, oh, by the way, I'll just give you my record collection too. He goes, I got a bunch of records. So, dude, he brought me this thing down there. The stereo is fucking awesome. It looks great. He gave me almost 200 albums. And I mean, they're in pristine shape, every one of them. I mean, it goes from Aerosmith to just everything. I mean, it's just, I'm like going, holy shit, the records themselves are worth $100.
Sure. Yeah.
It was a win-win.
Does it have an 8-track player in it?
It does not. I mean, it's one of the old ones.
Really? Wow.
It's still,
that's
no,
surprising.
This is tube. I actually took it apart. It had a little scratchy pot. So I thought, well, I'll get into the back and do it. Well, I got it in the back. I'm like, going, there's no way I can even get to the pot because the volume knob goes down about 6 inches. So I got some contact cleaner and I shoot it down the edge of the knob there. It got in there and I wiggled it, got it fixed. Now it works like perfect. I mean, it's awesome. But anyway,
that's great.
But the reason like
was he took his knob and twisted it around with a wrench and he
sprayed some lubricant on it.
Yeah. Sprayed some stuff on it and it works great.
People who love vinyl. The thing is my first recollection of listening to albums was on my mother and dad's console. We all had console stereos when we were kids. Most of us did. Their parents had a console.
We had friends that had a TV that doubled as a bar.
Yeah.
A console stereo, not console TV. Sorry.
That would be cool nowadays if you had that. Like you built a bar and like the console was like the top of the bar, but it was like a regular bar height. That would be wicked. That would be cool.
Be awesome.
I don't have a for it, but that'd be cool.
So anyway, I just hogged up like the first 10 minutes of the show. So
yeah. So hey, thanks, man, for being on. We really appreciate it.
It was a blast. I'll see you next time.
Anyway, let's talk about records. So the resurgence of this. I mean, when did you guys in your company? When did this start? I mean,
well, I would probably go back before I started working for the company that I work for now. If I'm before I worked for this particular company, I worked for a company out of Nashville called Music City Record Distributors, right. And they owned. And you guys, which are y'all all from Evansville or?
I'm from Evansville. I'm from.
Okay,
I live in Indy, so
y'all will know what I'm talking about. I work for a company called Music City Record Distributors, which owned a chain of record stores called Cats Music.
Yep. Cats Records.
There were Cats Records. There was
Evansville.
And they had been around. They had started it as a distribution company in the I think the late 40s, and then in the 70s they opened up record stores. Yeah, in fact, they were the first distributor when they distributed Atlantic Records when Atlantic Records was an independent record label, a little indie.
Oh wow!
So way back. Wow. But in the 70s they opened up Cats Records, and then in the late 80s, they sold out to Turtles in the Nashville, most of the Tennessee area or the Nashville area, and they started opening up stores in Memphis. And so they came back to Nashville. They had like this 10-year deal where they said they couldn't open up any stores in the Nashville area for 10 years. So around 1998, when that deal was up, they started opening Cats Music in some shops in the Nashville area. And I was, 98, I guess I was probably 21 at the time. I started working 21, started working at a record store, started working at Cats, and and I moved through several different stores, and I lived in Murfreesboro, Tennessee for a long time. And we finally opened up a store in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And it was right next to Middle Tennessee State University, which is a very, very large, it's the largest undergraduate school in the state of Tennessee. And so I thought, hey, I want to, there's a lot of hipsters here. I want to start bringing in vinyl. So I started, researching. I was the manager of this store. Are there any distributors that carry vinyl, like full length stuff? And I found a few little things. This would have been in about 2003 or 2004. I found a few little distributors. Universal had a few little pieces that they were pressing. They were doing Nirvana Nevermind, and you could get several indie things, so Bright Eyes and all of these kinds of indie bands and stuff were still pressing vinyl. But as far as major label stuff, there was very, very little of it. You certainly couldn't go get the Beatles catalog. You certainly couldn't get Kiss. None of that stuff. So I had a little section, and it was selling really, really well. And so I was trying to get our owner to let some of these stores that were in more hip areas start stocking some vinyl. Well, the problem with vinyl is in 1990, essentially, when the labels basically stopped making it, what little they had left over, when you bought it, you couldn't return it to the label for credit. So, for people that don't understand how record retail works, and CDs, they're 100% returnable. So let's say you buy 90 copies of a new release on CD and it bombs, you only sell 10 of them. After, 30 or 60 days, you can return it for credit to the label and spend that money on another product. All vinyl became non-returnable, and to this day is still non-returnable. So CDs still are returnable. So he didn't like that. So he said, no, I'll let you bring a couple $100 in, and that's it. Well, fast forward a little bit till about 2007 or 8. That store shut down, and I took over the director of advertising position at Music City Record Distributors, and we had an export division, and we had a guy that ran it. He was a Frenchman, and he was selling vinyl. I went back to his little corner in the warehouse, and he was selling vinyl to these record stores in France. And it wasn't, this was 2007, 2008 now. It wasn't a little amount. It was $100,000 a month.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
And I was going, what? First of all, who's pressing this? And so I got in a conversation with him, and he was like, Europe is really, really, really diving heavy back into vinyl again, 2007, 2008. And so I started talking to our boss again. Our owner is saying, look, we're moving $100,000 a month in vinyl to France. Why can't we start, the stores are struggling. We're closing stores left and right. Why can't we start bringing vinyl into the stores? And he's like, it's non-returnable. I'm not doing it. I'm not getting stuck with product. And by the end of 2008, the company had filed bankruptcy after 50 years in business, and it went under. And so that's when I first noticed. That's a long-winded way to get around to your question.
No, it's a good answer.
That's when I started noticing around 2008 that there's something to this vinyl thing. And
but it wasn't in America. It was actually going overseas.
Right. It was going to Europe. But what I noticed was there were more catalog titles being pressed at that time, because I was looking at stuff and I was like, this is odd, because I didn't know that any vinyl was being pressed to any degree at all, other than just a few select titles, and then the indie labels, which never stopped pressing vinyl.
So were these pressings? Were these pressings done in America?
No, not all of them. There's always been pressing plants. Excuse me. There's always been pressing plants in Eastern Europe for sure. Czechoslovakia,
right,
or whatever it's called now. There's been Eastern European plants that press. There's a plant in Germany that presses, and then United Record Pressing here, the company I work for, they never stopped pressing. And then there was Rainbow. And there's one other, and It escapes my mind now. That never completely shut down. See, the labels used to press their own vinyl. They didn't go to hired out.
They actually had their own.
Yes, they had their own press.
Wow.
Yes. Well, there were separate pressing plants, but they also had their own pressing in house as well. And I mean, there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pressing plants, if not thousands, in the 70s and 80s, early 80s. And when they shut all that stuff down, our company went in and bought all their machines up and stored them.
Wow.
So anyway, about 2008 is when I started noticing it, and I remember reading in Billboard an article in Billboard about vinyl in late 2008 where they said that vinyl had gotten up to about 1% of physical sales, and I thought, man, that's incredible because it used to be zero,
right? Exactly.
And a few years prior to that, it might have been 0.1, 0.2, and that was all DJ stuff.
It went from 100% to zero.
Right.
Now back to 1%, and like you're amazed by 1%, but that's like you said, it is. I mean, it's
nobody was. There was no vinyl anywhere in this country. And so I just kept paying attention, and then I remember 2009. Sonic Boom gets released on vinyl, very limitedly. Kiss, Sonic Boom, and 1,000 copies of each color, and I'm like, that's odd, that's really, really odd. And then by 2011 or something like that, February 2011, I had applied for this, or January 2011, I had applied for this position. My company was looking for a sales rep, and one of the field marketing reps for Universal had turned me on to the position that I'd worked with for many years, and I ended up landing this job because of my experience in retail, and I have a music business degree, and I basically worked in the music business my entire adult life. So that was a really long answer. That's when I started noticing vinyl coming back. It's funny when somebody says, hey, this vinyl resurgence.
Right.
We're 10, 11 years deep into this vinyl resurgence.
Right.
I think it's just taking that long. I think it's just taking that long for it to really catch on. I mean, for enough people in enough outlying areas to really start talking about it more. You just didn't hear about it. And I think the other thing about it now that's happening is there are so many of these antique mall things popping up where, you're going through a booth, or, at least here, like, we have an antique mall that's got 500 booths in it, and, people are, and it really is just some of it's just a salvage place, right?
Sure.
All of a sudden you're looking around and you go through there and there's like 300 records there, and you're like, what the hell, and you spend, you get down on your hands and knees and you're flipping through those damn things, and you're down there for, and part of it becomes I got to find the one thing, and it's cool because you haven't seen it for a long time. It's interesting, and your start is interesting too. I worked in a record store here. I live south of Indianapolis, and I worked in a record shop here that was a locally owned record shop by a gentleman, and that's. For me, I collected vinyl then as well. This was in 86, 87. So when I started working for him, and I worked a couple of years, and it was, the cool part was, you're right. I mean, we used to buy from Scotty's Records is who we bought from. That was our company that we purchased records from. And I remember reading Billboard magazine every week. I would read the, I forget what they were called. There were certain sheets that we would get like 2 or 3 weeks before a product came out that were like the sheets where you could order stuff off of, and it was the hot stuff. And I think they were maybe they're hot sheets. Is that what they were called? They may have been what they were called. I can't remember.
I just called them sales sheets, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, they had some name on the top of it. I can't remember. But and I remember the whole thing about, we would buy so much product. This was a small shop. It wasn't huge. It was in a mall, but it wasn't gigantic. But I do remember the whole thing of buying product and tapes, and then when CDs came, CDs and stuff like that, and then being able to send them back. And we had vinyl for quite a while. And I remember him talking about, and I didn't understand it then, I guess, that, we just keep vinyl and it just get dusty and people wouldn't buy it. And, he's like, we just got to get rid of this stuff. And I'm like, well, you know what? What do you mean we're going to get rid of this stuff? And this was back, it just wasn't selling like it was. When CDs came along, it just took a rock, it just took a nosedive, right?
Yep.
But I remember it was a blast. I loved that job. I absolutely loved every minute of working in that store. And the interesting thing about it was if Mr. Moore knew that he only allowed you to play jazz. So you could play jazz and you could play like new age stuff, but he did not want to hear any rock stuff in his shop because the people buying from him didn't want to hear that stuff. So he would leave, and then Lisa, who was the manager whenever he wasn't there, and we'd be turning on all kinds of crap,
Sure,
as soon as he walked out the door. But it was just a cool, fun time. But yeah, I remember reading Billboard magazine, front to back, and getting promo records for stuff. And I had all that crap. And then, sometime we had a yard sale, and I'm like, I am never going to put this crap out again. And I got rid of most of it. I never got rid of any of my Kiss stuff. That was not an option.
Right.
But I got rid of almost all the rest of it. And now I'm going back, and I've got a collection now. I'm up to about 230 records.
Yeah, now you're rebuying everything at triple the price.
The thing was too, though, and with Bill saying too, and I back him up. The stuff that I had as a kid. My 2 albums that I took actually to Nashville at the Vault when I seen you down there, Jason. It was I took my Destroyer and my Alive 1. And first thing Gene looked at him, he says, "Man, these have been used." I mean, and they are. I mean, they were the stuff that I had as a kid. I not only played the shit out of them, I didn't take care of them. When you were a kid, you didn't. I didn't put it back in the sleeve, lay them on the floor. You did shit like that.
Sometimes I would take thumbtacks and stick it through the hole and put it on my wall.
Exactly. And then pull it back off and play it at some point.
Yes, that's exactly what I did.
And the thing is, I did not take care of my stuff at that point. They weren't like CDs, where they could take a little bit more of that kind of crap. But the whole point was, the whole point though too I was getting to was that we don't vinyl for Bill and I has never really subsided. And the thing is, and I can go get all the vinyl I want, but I got to go sift through tons and tons of 18 Herb Albert albums, 84
365 versions of New England.
Yes, just to find whatever. But I'm so glad now that they're pressing these new albums, because the fact of now I want to go get a Kiss Alive. I don't have to go through 18 stores to find a half-ass, really shitty copy of it. And that's what Gene signed my brand new 180 gram, version of that album.
Yeah, the 2014 issues of the Kiss catalog are absolutely incredible pieces of art. Universal pulled no punches. They spared no expense. It was pressed at, no offense to my pressing plants, pressed at one of the cleanest, best pressing plants in the country, QRP, and just absolutely painstaking attention to detail. And Tom Shannon was, my old colleague, was a big part of that. He's the one that basically sent them all of the stuff they needed they rebuilt those covers from scratch because they didn't have the original files in the large format to print covers. So they had to have scans of all of that stuff. They had to have scans of all the posters. They had, all the stuff that went into Hysteria, the big box set. Right. All of that, those posters are out of Tom's personal collection. They really, really, really spared no expense. And people were wondering, why vinyl is so expensive now. Well, one, they are trying to gouge us a little bit, but two, it costs a whole lot more these days to press vinyl than it did back then, and to recoup your money, because you're not pressing a million copies of
something. It's a volume
something.
issue.
You're right. Yeah. You're pressing 2,000 to 4,000 copies of something, and in many cases, 500 copies of something, and it just it costs a lot of money.
So let me ask you too. Now, the big thing now is all the 180 gram.
Right.
What is the? I mean, is it just so it doesn't warp? I mean, what's the? I
well,
mean,
it's a
being a vinyl lover, I'm not a aficionado. I don't know why.
I think there's two parts to it. I think saying something is 180 gram, which they are, is a marketing ploy. Sure. Oh my God, this is high quality stuff. But
and they are heavy.
They are heavyweight. It's heavyweight vinyl. I think that's what the collector expects these days. Because standard weight vinyl, in the 70s and 80s was 120 gram. You can take it and flop it like this. And that's why I always debate with people who say the original Casablanca pressings, in the 70s of like Kiss Alive 2 are far superior than the 2014 reissues. That's hogwash, because there were 10 different pressing plants pressing out 1 million copies of those things with little to no quality control. You can pick them up in your hand and flop them like this. There's no way it's higher quality when they're only pressing 2,000 copies of it over at QRP, when they're looking and putting their hands on each record and making sure that it's a quality press, So, everybody expects everything to be 180 gram now, at least 140 gram, so you very, very few records are the old standard 120 gram weight. But I mean, it's definitely worth it.
I mean, you can tell it. I mean, like, it's one of those things where it ain't bullshit. You can tell the difference. I mean, you get it. And it's like, I damn, my Alive 2. It's like it's thick, and they almost don't even fit into the fucking sleeve. I mean, they're big. I mean, it's like, holy shit.
Yeah, they're thick records. So,
but so anyway, as far as Columbia House, I know that's probably a name that you don't want to. I mean, I don't know, because I've heard so much weird shit about that place, and the Fruit Ridge Lane. I mean, we've been when you living in Indiana, you know all about it.
Sure,
they pressed a shitload of albums.
They sure did.
A shitload. Are they still doing anything now at all? Are they?
The last thing I heard about Columbia House was I read something late last year that they were considering coming back online.
I heard that, but they did anything since then?
I have not heard anything since then.
Because they pressed a shit gob of albums.
I think they're probably 5 years too late, maybe. I think they should have gotten in about 5 years ago. But there's a lot of companies now. We've set up a lot of people new accounts with my company that are, they're online only people. They don't have physical stores. There's these subscription companies like Vinyl Me Please, and
is Reverb one of those kind, or is that just a reseller?
I think Reverb is a reseller thing. Okay. Vinyl Me Please is a subscription.
So basically, you just got to be like an industry. You just got to have a fucking building where you can press these things, and you can. I mean, it's basically a machine shop kind of situation.
Right. The thing was with pressing, we United Record Pressing kind of had the market cornered for a long time, because we had all of our original presses, and then we had all those presses that we bought up from all these companies that went defunct.
Right.
And then we bought some presses from some bootleggers over in Europe, and we put all these things in storage, and 10 years ago, there were no manufacturers that were making presses. Right. So you couldn't get replacement parts. You couldn't get, anything. So if you wanted to start a pressing plant, it was going to be incredibly difficult. So you had Rainbow and us, and for some reason, the third plant is escaping my head. We were the United Record Pressing, my company. We stayed in business by pressing 12-inch singles for the European market. And when we decided to start the distribution arm of the company, about 11 years ago now, so 3 years before I started with them, 95% of the business of our business was shipping overseas to Japan and Europe, and it was almost all 12-inch singles.
Right.
And then you started seeing the labels come in around 2010 going, we need to, people are demanding that we press Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Dark Side of the Moon again. and so they started doing these limited runs of those catalog titles, and it just started, I don't know, it just started growing and growing and growing. And I can tell you in late 2008, 2009, when Music City went bankrupt, I remember reading an article that the physical store count in the United States had dropped below 1,000. There was like 800 or 900 stores left in the whole country.
Right.
And I think we're back up over 4,000 stores now.
There's a lot. And the amazing thing about it too is I've started doing this. I did it for I think 3 years in a row now. National Record Day is just
Record Store Day.
Oh, Record Store Day is just an awesome day.
Yeah, we're an official distributor for Record Store Day.
So, and you were there when I saw you at the Gene Simmons Vault. You were there in Nashville for getting ready for that, wasn't it?
Well, we were right in the middle of that. Was the Saturday before Record Store Day.
I was going to say, you said I can only be here for so long because I got to get back.
Right, our plant literally was about 3 or 4 miles from where that was held, right. And that is like that Saturday. The Saturday before Record Store Day is my busiest day of the year, and I win the vault, and that's the day it's on.
It's like, I got to go see Gene Simmons, but I'll be back. I promise.
I had to beg my boss. I was like, can I please go, because, we work like it's literally 6 o'clock in the morning until 12 o'clock at night for about 12 days in a row, making sure that, and there's like 500 to 600 titles that come in at the same time, and you have to turn it around and get it right back out to 1,000 stores in 10-12 days time. It's a logistical goddamn nightmare is what it is.
So are they truly only pressing, when they say they're only pressing 2,000 for that entire event? That's it. That's really not that's not a marketing ploy.
Not a market.
That is a fact, Jack. Because I promise you, it is not a marketing ploy. Yeah, I bought the Eric Clapton package this year. Mm-hmm. It's just, oh my gosh, it's incredible. I've been trying to pick them up here and there, but I got the complete Eric Clapton set. It's ridiculous.
Not only are those numbers accurate, but they also, through the guidelines of Record Store Day, which is an entity by themselves, the labels are not allowed to reissue any of that product that's identical to what it was. Now, sometimes you'll see on Record Store Day, there will be what are called advance releases, and there's really nothing special about those. It's just that the indie record shops get those titles before online Amazon gets it or something like that, so there's not a ton of those. There's usually about 10 of those or something, like you'll see a Fleetwood Mac Rumors and it'll be an indie advance or something like that. But if it's limited Record Store Day color vinyl or something, picture disc or something like that, has a different cover, they don't reissue those.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
They don't get remade.
Yeah, it's fun though. I mean, doing it is fun. So in Indy, living south of Indianapolis, there's 5 stores in Indy. So we just start and we just go around, and the fun part is there's that vinyl, and really I don't buy a lot of the new vinyl. I'm looking for old stuff, and the Eric Clapton thing I really splurged. I think that thing was like $55, which is not something I would normally spend $55 on, but it just was like, oh my gosh, I can get it all in one, and it's a special edition, and it's so that part was really cool. But just the whole atmosphere, and you see people at that event that are teenagers or younger to people that are 80 years old looking at. I mean, it's just really cool. It's a cool event.
Too, you know what though? It is bringing you back to your childhood.
Well, Gene,
and that's what it's doing. I mean,
so the interesting thing is, so when Alan and I met Gene this year in Fort Wayne at the show, there was a guy in Fort Wayne that we got introduced to that he has a record shop in Fort Wayne, and he's run it for quite a while. And we were talking about vinyl or whatever. Well, Gene comes walking through, and the guy grabs him, and he goes, "Hey," he goes, "this guy likes vinyl." He goes, "He buys vinyl and stuff like that." He goes, "What do you think of that?" And Gene goes, "So why do you buy vinyl?" And I said, I like having the gatefold. I like the memories it brings back." And he said, "So you're buying a feeling."
Exactly. I mean, that.
And when he said that, I was like, "Yeah,
you are."
That's the thing. And we've turned the corner, I think, from my perspective in this business, because we have enough young people that we're so far past the MP3 introduction, that now you've got kids that are kind of growing up in the vinyl era, So, we're 10, 11, 12 years into this, kids that are 12 years old now, they can actually walk into a Target and see a record player and see a rack of records. You've kind of turned the corner when my 13-year-old daughter wants a record player and gives me a list of 10 records that she wants for Christmas.
That's fucking cool.
And that, cool. And that's a serious thing. And it's not because her dad is here with 400 Kiss records and a couple of record players. It's because her band Panic at the Disco is pumping out vinyl. And if you looked at the year-end review of the 10, I think it was the 10 best-selling artists, 10 best-selling artists in vinyl, it was all classic, non-new people. Right. So the Beatles and because the White Album came out, and you've got the Sgt. Pepper's thing and all of that stuff.
All the stoners are buying Pink Floyd.
Right. but right there, like number 4, number 5 was Panic at the Disco. Those guys sold like 300,000 pieces of vinyl this year. Wow. And and they're telling their fans to go buy that, and she's on their Instagram, and she's got the whole Panic at the Disco catalog. Of course it costs, because I work at a distributor, but and she's got the whole 21 Pilots catalog, and she's got Melanie Martinez, and she's got the Fallout Boy box set, and
the good thing for those bands is they're probably actually making money.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, not like what's happened in the last 10 years with MP3s and whatever, where they're not making any money.
Right. Well, the business is in the last year has finally, the record business as a whole has finally gotten back up over the $1 billion mark. Right. The woe is me, the record labels are dying and all that stuff. It's shifted, it's all changed, but it's $1 billion industry again. It wasn't for 10, 15, 10 years or something like that. It was really in the tank, and a lot of great people lost their jobs. And I watched a lot of people that worked in this business for 30 years lose their jobs in this town in Nashville, and but it's turned a corner, and our company is constantly hiring. We're constantly looking for people, especially on the pressing plant side of things, because I think we run about between 50 and 60 presses, about 20 hours a day, about 360 days a year.
That's awesome.
Pressing records, nonstop.
That's awesome.
How many records in a day can that press? Do you have any idea?
That I don't know. It's hard to say.
Do you know how long it takes to press a record?
Well, I mean, you can watch it. You can go to YouTube and
go to YouTube, watch the video.
Yeah.
They got.
I'd say one record, is probably 30 seconds, 45 seconds, or something like that. It's still a very manual process.
Now, Jason, do they make the molds? That comes from the? Do they make their own molds, or how does that work?
Our company makes the lacquers.
The lacquer, okay. So once they get the lacquer, they make the mold, and then.
Yes,
okay.
Our company goes from the the actual audio to the press. We do the whole thing.
So there's some, I guess, from the record company that checks out that first pressing or that checks out that first lacquer and whatever.
There'll be a test. Test pressings run.
Right.
We have people that listen to them. Then they get sent to the label. The label tests them. If they okay it, it comes back. It goes to the press and it starts. Now, what was different in the 70s? Like I was saying, Kiss Alive 2 was pressed in 10 different plants.
Right.
And they were, pressing 2 million records at a time or something like that. You would run your stampers would wear out.
Right.
Well, stampers don't wear out like that now. So they'll press 1,000 records or 2,000 records or 500 records or whatever, and they'll store the stampers. And then we'll take the 2014 Kiss reissues, for example. So they press 2,000 Kiss Alives. They sell out of 2,000 Kiss Alives. They go back and get those stampers and they press more. It's the same matrix.
Right.
It's not a different stamper, so it's technically the same pressing.
Technically the same thing. So
even
though it's second or third pressing, you're still getting, because back then they would have did 1 million on those ones, and now you're only getting 2,000, or not 1 million, but
back then they would have done how many ever tens of thousands, and then the stamper would have worn out, and they would have made new ones and put new matrix numbers in them, and then you had a second pressing, and.
So that's why I took my Kiss Alive record back 3 times.
Oh, you really? You had
I did. Alive 2. I took it back 3 times.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Dynasty, what happens?
Dynasty Charisma. What is up with that? See, I always thought I had a bad spot in Charisma, and then I heard somebody on some podcast saying that was actually a blurb from the factory.
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. I'd have to.
Charisma skipped. My Charisma. The first verse, it skips, and somebody says that happened on a shit gob of albums. It was like it was a factory blurb.
Right. What happens there is something gets on the press,
right,
and they run 500 of them out, and you've got 500 records out there in the field that have a problem. So
mine had that where it skipped, but there wasn't. You could look at it, and there wasn't anything on there. There wasn't a scratch or anything. It just skipped from day one.
There was a issue with the original audio on Then She Kissed Me on Love Gun.
Right.
The very, very beginning of the song is cut off. And that's it. Excuse me. And that was in the mastering. So they had 2,000 copies of Love Gun out there that have an error in it. And
I never listened to that song anyway. I just skipped over it.
They went back and fixed the problem. And when they pressed more of those Love Guns, they have altered the matrix, and that's the only way you can tell if you have a corrected copy of Love Gun is if it says RE at the end of the matrix now.
Oh.
So,
Bill, what's your problem with your Live though? What did you have to take it back?
It was skipping.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, it was. Skipping.
Did you ever get a copy that wasn't?
I finally got a copy that wasn't.
Good.
But
did it have a physical scratch on it whatsoever? Or
I don't remember. My God, man, that was it's a day or two ago.
Now, usually what causes that is something gets in the stamper, and it's pressed into the record.
I worked for a printing company. Used to not just a printing company, but like I said, you get a piece of just lint or anything off the paper we get on there. It would cause multiple. You maybe had 20 or 30 till you notice it.
What was in the same place? Shit. It was in the same place all 3 records.
Then that's exactly
the same place.
That's exactly
same
why.
deal.
So
same
it was
deal.
in the stamper, and they ran 500 on a machine, and didn't clean the stamper in between. I remember this because
I took it back 3 times, and finally they gave me money.
In the same store?
It was.
See, you would have got 1, 2.
I believe it was Airway over there in Lawndale.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yep. And they finally gave me my money back, and I went to a different store, and I don't remember where I went to. Might have been Foltz or something like that.
All right.
And bought it there and didn't have a problem. And that was what they said. Sometimes you get a bad batch. That was
right. That's exactly what it is.
You get a bad batch of records.
Yep.
And the guys at Foltz were always smoking pot down there.
Yeah, they were all
incense. So they got better records down there.
Dude, it all sounds great, man.
Yeah, I love it.
We had the Foltz Boutique. That place was awesome.
That's something. I remember that was. I remember that vividly. It was kind of weird.
And the weird thing is, though, we were just talking about this earlier. You mentioned it too, Jason. As far as Best Buy sold all these CDs and all this bullshit forever, and then run the mom and pop stores out. Then the mom and pop stores are gone, and now guess what? Best Buy doesn't sell CDs anymore either.
Yeah.
So what the fuck,
Yeah. Well, the CD,
Well, but music, period, or DVD, they don't sell any of that shit anymore.
Yeah.
You can't. Target sells a few, Walmart does, that there and that, but you just can't go. I mean, because you got to go online, I guess, and get your shit. Oh, it's ridiculous.
Well, in the bigger towns, there should be enough mom and pop record stores that have returned.
Right.
Because I literally get 10 emails a week of people that have opened or are about to open new stores wanting to set up accounts. So, there's definitely something out there going on for people that are wanting to start a new business to do this again.
Right.
And, so Alan, what do you think about all this?
He doesn't care. He's fucking heated.
I find it interesting.
Are you still here? Hey man, what's going on?
I find it interesting. I want to go tour one of those record plants. I just have no desire to collect vinyl.
So what do you listen to? You just listen to digital?
Well, I have I'm getting ready to get rid of my CD collection as well because I have Spotify now, so I don't need all of that stuff.
What are you going to do when Spotify goes away?
Then I'll be listening on YouTube again, I guess.
When the internet collapses and we're not doing anything.
When the internet collapses, I believe listening to music is the least of my worries.
Electricity is gone. At least I can take a record and put a pin on it and make the sound.
No. You go out and buy one of those crank Victrolas or something. That doesn't require electricity.
Gilligan's Island, they did it for what? Yeah. How many years they do that shit for?
When the internet collapses, I think Alan's going to be looking for a job because he's an IT guy. So there's going to be a whole nother big issue there.
By the time that happens, I will have already been retired. I'm not even worried about it.
Not even worried about it.
Jason, where do you see vinyl getting to as far as the percentage? Like you said, now it's back to about 1% or whatever.
No. That was in 2008. No,
it's higher than that now.
I think this last year, the numbers this year put it at 13%. Of all physical sales.
Wow, that's good. That's good.
And I think it's like the 12th or 13th year of growth in a row now.
Yeah,
so
even cassettes were on there this year too.
I know. Why would anybody want a fucking cassette? I mean, why don't you bring back an 8-track?
Well, I was just gonna say there are a couple of bands that release their stuff on 8-track. Especially the 8-track.
That fucking 8-track. I tell you what, I had a Kraco under the dash 8-track.
That's the only kind you could buy, wouldn't it?
In my Datsun B210 when I was 16 years old, this would have been, and I bought Van Halen 1 on fucking 8-track, and you put that motherfucker in there, and Jamie's Crying was split into two. It went from track 3 to track 4, and it's like, are you serious? I gotta wait. Click. It comes back.
Let me tell you, I'm an avid Kiss. Of course, I'm a Kiss collector, but I'm an avid Kiss 8-track collector. And hey, man, some of those Kiss 8-tracks are very, very, very valuable. You
got a player though? I mean, that works.
Yes, I've got a player. Absolutely. Yeah. Lick It Up on 8-track. That's a $500 piece minimum.
Are you serious?
Oh God, yes, minimum. If I haven't seen one on eBay in about 3 years now, if it comes up, there's about 10 of us looking for it. I guarantee you.
Time to start garage sailing.
I mean, if you can find it, it was only released on Columbia House, so if you can find it, it's super.
Somebody
rare.
was saying that you used to be you had the cassette and you had the pin, you had to put the pencil in there, and we're like as I said, you know how to fix an 8-track, don't you? Alan did it. Like you just pray that it went back up. It's like, but I had 3. I think I bought Ted Nugent's Double Live Gonzo 3 times because especially those little longer ones on 8-track, they didn't last very long, and that machine would just eat, and you hear that. It's like, oh shit, and it's like how many feet of fucking tape I got down to mess with.
Well, guys, if you're ever in ever at a garage sale and you see The Elder, Creatures of the Night, Lick It Up, or Animalize on 8-track, and you don't want to collect it, buy it.
Buy it, no matter what.
You've got a several $100 piece, easy.
Wow.
Easy, especially if you find Lick It Up. Damn impossible.
I've never even seen an 8-track.
The best part about buying that is if I find the Elder, I would have no way of listening to it.
He hates the Elder.
I love the Elders. So.
I do too. I love the whole thing. I could not listen to it.
See, Bill, every time we have somebody on, we talk about the Elder, they go, I love it. And you're just, you're in a club by yourself.
You know, that's the best part. You can like what you want to like, and you can not like what you don't want to like.
If you want to watch this show come to a screeching halt, tell Jason how much you hate Unmasked.
Oh, don't do it, man. Don't tell me.
I like Unmasked. I do. You know what? That was one of
my
the
second favorite record in the catalog.
Really?
You know, that was one of those ones that whenever I first got it, I was like, oh, fuck. You know, I was really disappointed. But over the years, I really have grown to like that album a lot.
And if you take yourself out, you know, and now I'm a music guy, you know.
Right.
I've been in this business my whole life. I've listened to a lot of shit. And if you take the fact that it's Paul and Gene and Ace out
take your Kiss blinders off.
Kiss blinders off. It is a incredibly written pop record.
It
absolutely is. Incredibly written pop record. So,
I agree with that.
It may not be the greatest Kiss record, whatever that means, because to me, if you take Dynasty, Unmasked, The Elder, Creatures, and Lick It Up and put, you know, that could be 5 different bands. And that's what's great about Kiss.
Thanks the Lord.
Yeah.
That's what's great about Kiss. You know? So, and what's funny is, you know, Creatures is my favorite Kiss record, which is about the heaviest Kiss record.
Yeah.
And Unmasked is my second favorite.
Yeah. Are you a Carnival of Souls fan?
I love. I am the Kiss can do no wrong.
I love Carnival of Souls. Was that? Oh my God! I really like this. Except for it's a really shitty recording. Now, can I get a really good recording of this? You know, because I heard it like 5 years before it came out or whatever.
Yeah. I remember very well getting those cassette. Yeah,
well, I remember hearing Revenge for the first time, going, "Oh my God! Finally, they've come back from the abduction of whatever the hell happened to them."
My coworkers absolutely hated Kiss when the Revenge album come out because, man, I brought that thing to work on cassette and I wore out 2 or 3 cassettes.
Oh my God! And then Carnival of Souls, and then. Yes, this is going to be 2 great tours in a row, or not.
And then Psycho Circus come out.
The Revenge. I remember
hearing Psycho Circus the first time, and I was like, going, really?
Yeah, I vividly remember going to Tower Records at midnight and picking that up with a buddy of mine, and we were driving back from Nashville to Murfreesboro, which is about a 30-minute drive at midnight. Right. And after about the 4th song, we were looking at each other going, this is not what I expected at all, you know. So
when did the Tower Records close in
Nashville?
Yeah.
I think Tower probably about 10 years ago. Because I think, or maybe a little longer.
Who was the one that was in Disney done? Was that Virgin or
was that Tower? That was a Virgin Records.
That was Virgin. Okay.
We had 2 towers in Nashville. We had,
did?
We had the original on West End.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
And then there was one in Opry Mills Mall. And
I remember the one.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was talking about the one in. I was talking about the one.
So the original one on West End, I'm going to say about 10, 12 years ago, 12, something like that, because FYE took over their lease for 5 years. And so it changed from a tower to an FYE.
Yeah. Is FYE still in business anymore? Or
yes, FYE is still in business.
Yeah, they're in the malls. They're in malls.
Are they still in Eastland? No, they're going out of Eastland though, aren't they?
No, there's one in one of the Greenwood Mall up here. There's one.
They were here at Evansville for a while, but then they didn't. I don't think they stayed around very long.
I used to plan our trips to Florida. So on the way back from Florida, I would time it and so that I could stop at Tower Records for a little break before we had to come back.
There you go.
It wasn't right on 65, but it was close.
Right. When FYE's lease was up, I can't remember if they were going to try to renew it or not, but the developer said, no, you're not renewing, we're tearing it down, and they built a high-rise hotel. which is all that there is in Nashville now. Is
I tell you
hotel.
what, those
Was they
guys
built a
are just-
hotel there? Because there was like a Chili's right next door to it.
Yeah, and the Chili's is still there. Chili's is still
Yeah,
there.
hotels
and
and
there's a
apartments.
giant high-rise hotel right beside it.
Yeah, I stayed down there when I came down there to the last the Rock and Roll Residency show. I stayed right down there, and I was like, man, I just missed that store. It was just, I remember the first time I walked in there, I was like, this is really cool. I mean, this is like,
it was huge.
And then when we were in LA 2 summers ago, we're driving down, was it Sunset Strip or whatever, and you get to that corner where the original Tower Records was, and it's like it's sitting there and it's empty and the parking lot's empty, and now they charge to park in the parking lot for people to go up and down the strip, and it's just like, it was so depressing. It's like,
have you seen
so much magic that happened back there?
Have you seen that Tower Records documentary? Oh man,
it's really good.
So good.
It's really good.
Oh my
gosh.
Really
good.
Yeah. So
well, I'm really hoping for a bunch of resurgence of the records.
Well, it's my livelihood. You know,
so you're really going, please, a few more.
I just bought this. Is that what you're saying?
I bought this new house 6 months ago with my wife. We just bought a new car, and if it goes belly up, we are screwed. So
yeah. Well, Jason, like I said, we
do our
appreciate
best. We'll do our best to help you out.
Thanks.
Exactly. No, we appreciate you being on and everything. I know you want to talk about
your podcast.
Pimp your that's where I was looking for. Pimp your podcast or anything that you're promoting today.
Well, everything is that I do. You can just go to kissmycollectibles.com. Okay. So the links to the Facebook groups. I run 3 Facebook groups on Facebook. Kiss My Wax, Kiss My Collectibles, and Kiss My Vintage. All Kiss My stuff. And there's 10,000 people in Kiss My Collectibles and 6,000 people in Kiss My Wax. So, wow. They're pretty active groups. But as far as the YouTube and where we post our podcast, Kiss My Collectibles on YouTube, on iTunes, on Spotify, on all that stuff. Sell out. Yeah.
That's like I say. You're our first. Actually, no. You're. I think Andrew had one too. You're the first one with the windscreen popping, so you got all your.
Yeah.
But that's really good. We got a guest that actually sounds like we do.
Well, Andrew made it a point a long time ago. He's like, man, if we're gonna be any remotely professional, we've got to have professional mics. And I'm like, well, dude, I had a recording studio in my house. I've still got all my mics and stuff. So
sounds good.
I'll just pull those out. So.
No, like I said, we went with these, but they're actually not too bad. Actually, they were actually pretty.
Y'all
good.
Sound great. Y'all sound great in my ears. So
that's what we did.
Yeah, Alan especially.
What? But you look all professional.
He's said a lot. So.
You look like you're ready to start like singing, like doing some like
the Howard Stern.
There you go. Cool, man. Thanks a lot for being on. This has been a great discussion. It's been really cool.
I appreciate you asking me on.
Alan's been bored for shitless, but. No, I'm just
now. Come next Thursday night, y'all going to see a news report that a Newburgh man gets beat to death with PV bass guitar.
with a oh yeah, we got some. Yeah, next Thursday night is I forgot about that.
Yeah, you better get to practicing, son.
There is a first rehearsal for a new band. Codenamed the Rad Project next Thursday. I don't know who would be in that band, but we'll just have to talk about it later.
All right, Jason. Well, thanks for having us on the show.
Well,
good Lord.
Jason.
See, this is why I don't talk very much.
Kiss My Ages of Rock podcast.
Alan hasn't said anything, so all his words are backwards. So.
That's right. My words are always backwards. It's terrible. I can remember the lyrics to songs from 1973, but I can't remember why I got up and went in the damn kitchen.
Or the bathroom.
I did the bathroom, and I remember why I was there.
I always know why I'm in the bathroom. All right. Anyway, folks, check us out on 80sofrock.com. Hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Check us out on Spotify. We're on Stitcher Radio. Check out our rebroadcast on 10. What is it?
Hello.net.
Jason, is what
we're
we said.
On
we
an
do
internet
not,
radio
we don't
station.
edit this.
No,
screwed that up.
I won't edit this
Listen
either.
to the globe. The globe.
Anyway, till next time, peace out, y'all. Thanks for listening to the Ages of Rock podcast. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and most importantly, tell all your friends. Remember, you're never too old to rock. Until the next episode, peace out, folks.